Next, coming to one more important topic, that is coastal regulation zone. Coastal regulation zone. Okay. In short, they are known as CRZs. My dear friends, the CRZ topics, the coastal regulation zone topic, is important this year for both mains and prelims. Okay. In mains, the analysis, there was a huge debate about the relaxation of the coastal regulation zones, the norms of CRZ norms, dilution of the 2011 norms, and recently the government in 2018 notified the new norms. The dilution of these norms is a debate which is important for mains. But whereas as we are focusing on our prelims, okay, we'll be discussing about what are important zones, to how many zones the coastal regulation zones were classified, and a little bit of history. I don't know, this coastal regulation zone is a confusing topic for many students. I don't know what's the reason. Okay, so just I will try my level best to simplify it for you. Before going into the topic, let me discuss some few terms. Imagine this is land, this is the transition zone, like imagine it as beach, and this entire region is the sea or any coastal area. We all know tides, the low tides and high tides is a very regular phenomena in the coastal areas. Okay, so during low tide, the water reaches up to this region. Let me use a different color. During low tide, this water reaches to this region. This is known as low tide line. And we all know when there is a high tide, the movement, the sea comes or the coastal water comes forward and they reaches to this line. This is known as high tide line. Okay, this is low tide line and this is high tide line. The region between low tide line and high tide line, this is known as intertidal zone. Intertidal zone. So please remember these three basic terminologies. One is low tide line and next one is high tide line, and the area lying between the low tide line and the high tide line is known as intertidal zone. So the government thought about regulation of coastal activities for the first time in 1991. For the first time, Government of India thought about regulating the coastal activities in 1991. So to regulate coastal activities, they need to identify a zone as a coastal zone. So they said that the 1991 notification said that, imagine this is high tide line, okay, any area, the area towards land, okay, till 500 meters. The distance from land area, the distance 500 meters towards the land, this zone the government has notified as the coastal regulation zone. 500 meters towards land, this entire zone is demarcated as the coastal regulation zone in 1991. Okay, so who notifies this coastal regulation zone? This is notified by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Okay, the central Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change notifies these coastal regulation zones. This is implemented by state government. This is implemented by state government. Okay. So the government for the first time thought of regulating the coastal zones in 1991, and then the government has revised in 2011, and then recently we revised the coastal regulation zones in 2018. Okay. The government for the first time thought about the idea of regulation of coastal activities in 1991, then revised the guidelines, CRZ norms in 2011, and in 2018 again they revised the guidelines. So the revision of these guidelines, the 2018 guidelines, is based on Shailesh Naik Committee. Okay. Shailesh Naik Committee was set up, and this based on the recommendation of Sailesh Nayak Committee, we have revised the coastal regulation zone norms in 2018. Before going into details, what is the need for coastal regulation zones? Very basic question. Why we need to regulate CRZ areas? Why we need to regulate CRZ areas? What is the importance of coastal regulation zones, sir? Why? What is the need of demarcation? First and foremost thing is preservation of coastal ecology. Okay. We know this region, the beach region and all these things. These are known as ecotones. On the first day I discussed what are ecotones, the transition area. Okay. So these regions have a separate ecosystem, different ecosystem. So that's the reason for the preservation of this coastal ecology, we need to regulate this. Next one is protection of livelihood of traditional fishermen. Of traditional fishermen. And next one for the other one is for disaster proof infrastructure. We have seen the 2004 tsunami, the effect of 2004 tsunami. Okay, and due to the climate change, there is a rise in sea levels and all these things. That's the reason the regulation of coastal zones is one of the most important things. Okay. So, based on the Sailesh Nayak recommendations, we have revised these coastal regulation zones in 2018. Okay, we have classified these coastal regulation zones into 4 categories based according to the 2008 notification. According to 2018 notification, we have categorized these coastal areas into 4 categories. First one is category 1. Category 1. What is this category 1, sir? This category 1 consists of all the ecologically sensitive areas, like mangroves, coral reefs, or any biosphere reserves. Okay, ecologically, category 1 consists of all the ecologically sensitive areas in the coastal areas like mangroves, coral reefs, or any biosphere reserves. So in this category 1, the development is restricted. Okay, it is declared as a no development zone. However, in exceptional cases, for any projects of Department of Atomic Energy, or for exceptions like if you want to construct desalination plants or trans-harbor ceilings, okay, so in exceptional cases, the new projects are allowed in this category 1. Okay. Next one, category 2. Category 2 consists of the areas, the urban areas or the areas which are substantially developed. The areas which are developed substantially up to shorelines. Category 2 consists of the areas which are developed substantially up to shorelines. That is, already these areas are developed till the shorelines. Mostly the one of the most metro cities and the urban areas falls under this category. And next, coming to the category 3. Okay. Further, this category 3 is divided into 2 regions. Under category 3, again there is a classification into 2 regions, that is category A and category B. What are these category 3 regions, sir? These are relatively undisturbed areas. These are relatively undisturbed areas. Okay. So what is the need for classification of category A and B in category 3? what are all allowed in this category A and what are the restrictions in this category A. So this category A talks about those areas whose population density is greater than 2161 square kilometers according to 2011 census. According to 2011 census. Category A talks about population. We are discussing category 3 of the coastal regulation zones. Further, the category 3 is subdivided into category A and category B. In category A are those areas whose population density is greater than 2161 square kilometers according to 2011 census. In these areas of category A, no development zone, NDZ, no development zone is up to 50 meters from high tide line. 50 meters from high tide line. We are discussing once again category 3. In category 3, further there is a subdivision. In subdivision, we are talking about category A. Category A are those areas whose population density is greater than 2161 square kilometers according to 2011 census. In these areas, there is a no development zone till 50 meters from the high tide line. Whereas category B talks about those areas whose population density is less than 2161 square kilometers according to 2011 census. In these regions, no development zone is from 200 meters. 200 meters from high tide line. From high tide line within 200 meters, no development is allowed. Okay. Whereas category 3A, it is the no development zone is 50 meters from high tide line. Whereas for category B, the no development zone is 200 meters from high tide line. Hope the category 3 is clear. And next, coming to category 4. Category 4 consists of those areas which goes towards sea. Imagine this is land, okay, till this is sea, okay. Imagine this is low tide line, okay, from here to 12 nautical miles, nothing but territorial waters. Category 4 deals with the regions which are 12 nautical miles from low tide line. These regions are considered as part of category 4 under the coastal regulatory zones. These are nothing but shallow belt of coastal waters. Okay. So these are the 4 zones which were recently notified and recently changes were proposed under 2018 coastal regulation zone. Let me show you one graphic associated with this. Yes. One second. Yes. A nice graphic prepared by this one, Center for Science and Environment, which publishes the Down to Earth magazine. My dear friends, please see. Okay, this is Coastal Regulation Zone 1. Coastal Regulation Zone 1. It consists of ecologically sensitive areas. Okay. Next, see, this is Coastal Regulation Zone 2, which is already substantially developed. This region with buildings. Okay. This is low tide line. This is high tide line. And I said the coastal regulation zone is 500 meters from high tide line. So this all comes under the coastal regulation zone. So this is coastal regulation zone 1, which consists of ecologically sensitive areas. Coastal regulation zone 2, this region, which is well developed. And coastal regulation zone 3, coastal regulation zone 3, it is classified into two categories: coastal regulation zone 3A and coastal regulation zone 3B. The 3A, which consists of population density more than 2161 square kilometers, the no development zone is 50 meters. The no development zone for category 3A is 50 meters no development zone. For category 3B, that is the areas whose population density is less than 2161 square kilometers, the no development zone is 200 meters. Okay, and this is CRZ 4. This is 12 nautical miles from the low tide line. These are the very basic information which you should be aware of coastal regulation. Hope, my dear friends, I guess you are aware of this UNCLOS. Hope you are aware of UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on Law of Seas. Okay, this is nothing but which demarcates the water, this all waters. Imagine this is land. Okay, 12 nautical miles. This is known as territorial waters. Okay, and then 12 nautical miles. This is known as contiguous zone. Okay, and then this from here 176 nautical miles. This is known as exclusive economic zone. Okay, territorial waters is for 12 nautical miles. Contiguous zone 12 plus 12, that is 24 nautical miles. Contiguous zone, this entire length 200 meters, 200 nautical miles. My dear friends, unit is 200 nautical miles. Okay, this region is considered as exclusive economic. Okay, these are the important things which you need to remember for the prelims. Okay, we are discussing coastal regulation zone. Let me discuss one more important topic which is important. Let me show this image. Yes, sir, this topic is also important this year. My dear friends, just identify this flag belongs to which country? Which country flag is this? Come on, sir, please comment. Live class. I would like to see the interactive sessions. Yes, sir, which country? No, wrong answer. This flag is known as blue flag. Yes, sir. I'm talking about which topic? I'm talking the interrelated topic, that is blue flag certification of beaches. Blue flag certification of beaches. Yes, sir. What is this blue flag certification? This blue flag certification is nothing but it's an ecotourism model. Ecotourism label. Blue flag certification is nothing but ecotourism label. So why I'm discussing this blue flag certification when I'm discussing with CRZ? What is the relation between CRZ, Coastal Regulation Zone, and blue flag certification of beaches? Recently, our government in 2019, our government has notified 13 beaches for the blue flag certification. So in this slide, the government has relaxed some norms for the beaches which are notified for the blue flag certification. What is this blue flag certification? Blue flag certification is an ecotourism label model. Nothing but there's an agency, there's an organization known as FEE, Denmark-based organization. Okay, Denmark-based organization, Foundation for Environment Education. Foundation for Environment Education. Okay. This organization gives these ratings. The FEE organization, Denmark-based organization, Foundation for Environment Education, gives the ratings for the beaches. That is, the rating is the blue flag rating. This rating or this certification is based on 33 parameters. Okay, if the beaches have all these facilities only, these 33 parameters, if the beaches comply with these parameters, then that beach will be getting the status of blue flag certified beach. However, the 4 major parameters, these are classified under 4 major heads. Those first one, environment, education and information. Environment, education and information. Next one, bathing water quality. Next one, environment management and conservation. Environment management and conservation. And next one is safety and services in beaches. Safety and service in beaches. My dear friends, no need to remember this 4. Okay, just for your information, I am giving these things. With regards to blue flag, you need to remember this one. Blue flag certification is given for beaches. It is given by a Denmark-based agency, that is Foundation for Environment and Education. Okay, so our government has notified for 13 beaches. The government of India has notified for 13 beaches. However, those are under the process. Okay, they are not yet notified. Currently, there is only one beach in India which is notified, which has got the status of this one, blue flag. That is Chandrabhaga Beach. Where is this Chandrabhaga Beach, sir? This Chandrabhaga Beach is in Odisha, particularly in Puri. Okay, so Chandrabhaga Beach in Odisha is the only one beach in India to have the status of this blue flag certification. Okay. My dear friends, we are talking about Chandra and Bhaga. Hope you are revising your geography, static part. So Chandra and Bhaga, these 2 streams merge and form one river. What is the name of that river? Chenab. Okay. Don't get confused. Chandra and Bhaga, those 2 river streams combine and form Chenab River in the North India, in Himachal Pradesh. Whereas here I am referring to Chandrabhaga Beach in Odisha, which has got the blue flag certification. Okay. So since government has relaxed the CRZ norms in these beaches, that's the reason this is in use. Okay. See, since I thought of we are discussing about blue flag, there is other concept. Okay, I thought of discussing here itself. Mission Blue. So this Mission Blue is in no way related with this blue flag certification and all these things, but just I thought of blue and blue. I thought of discussing here for your information. What is this Mission Blue? Okay, Mission Blue is an organization. Mission Blue is an organization. It recognizes hope spots. Yes, sir. Have you heard this term, hope spots? We heard the term hotspots. We are very familiar with the term biodiversity hotspots. Okay. Whereas Mission Blue recognizes few regions, they are named as hope spots. What are these hope spots? These are nothing but marine protected areas. Okay. On land, we recognize them as biodiversity hotspots, or national parks or wildlife sanctuaries, the protected areas on land. So there's an organization by name Mission Blue. Okay, it recognizes as hope spots. These are nothing but hope spots, or nothing but marine protected areas. In India, there are 2 regions which there are 2 hope spots in India. There are two hope spots in India. What are those two hope spots? Are the famous islands. One is Lakshadweep Islands, and next one is Andaman Islands. Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Okay, Lakshadweep, and next one is Andaman Islands. These two are recognized as the hope spots. This hope spots recognition is given by organization named as Mission